Hi, everyone. I know you already have done chapter 1 with me and chapter 2 with Miss Kappas. I'm so excited. I love this story. Okay, we're going to go over vocabulary. Hopefully you see vocabulary on the side of my computer. Still never know what it looks like, so hopefully it's working. Okay, so the first vocabulary we're going to go over is smothered. The word is smothered. Smothered means to cover something or someone completely. So if you smother someone, you're covering them with a blanket, or you might be covering them with a pillow. You're smothering them. You're trying to cover them up. If I am smothering fries, like in the picture I put here, that I'm smothering it with like ketchup, like a sauce, right? It's covered all the way up. Mr. Berkey loves to smother his fries in ketchup. That was a sentence I already created. Okay, the next word is bedclothes. The word is bedclothes. That means coverings for bed, such as sheets. So I am going to put right here, Miss LaBerry was so mad at Buttons because he had his dirty paws on my clean bedclothes. And so that's another word for sheets, right? I usually just say sheets or my comforter or my blanket, but bedclothes is also a word that you can use to describe something that covers the bed, right? So we know that over here it says such as sheets. So I chose this picture. This is not Miss LaBerry's flamingo bedspread. Okay, I found this on the internet, but I thought it was cool. But these are very interesting bedclothes. Okay, the next one is imprisoned. Let's go back down. Move this down. Oop, there we go. Meaning kept somewhere like a jail without a choice. We know the word in prison is prison, right? The base word is prison. In prison, when you are kept in prison, you are in prison. And you can, or it something like prison, right? So if you're imprisoned, you might use that and be dramatic, saying, I feel imprisoned at home right now. I really do feel like I'm imprisoned right now, right? We really have to try to stay home. We really don't have a choice. We can't go to a restaurant. We can't go to school right now. So that might be a way to say that, right? You might be actually talking about something like jail. You might actually be saying, like, some people might say, like, oh, my little brother always plays this makeup game with me, and sometimes he'll take me and I'm imprisoned in his jail, right? It's not actually happening, but it means that you cannot go anywhere. You have no choice, right? So I'm going to come up with one. I put a gate up in my kitchen to imprison. Now, and Buttons felt imprisoned because he couldn't leave the room. Right, so Buttons is in jail. There's other ways to be imprisoned, but he couldn't leave. He had no choice. Okay? I found this funny make-believe picture of this boy with some paper jail and handcuffs. Seize. Woo! I would seize all that money if I saw that on the ground, right? So I would take hold of it. I would grab it. Seize. And we know, because we read chapters 1, 2, and 3, that someone's about to get seized in the chapter 3. So I'm going to actually use this picture for my inspiration. I'm going to hold down shift. I'm going to capitalize my first letter. I'm going to say I saw. Let's get crazy. Okay, I saw $800 and decided to seize it. We're going to say $800 on the ground, and I decided to seize it before my sister saw it. Ooh. And that is something that I would do. So I saw $800 on the ground and decided to seize it before my sister saw it. Last one, hedges. Okay, I'm sure that you could have seen hedges like this in someone's yard, right? Unless maybe it's your yard. And the meaning is a fence or a wall created by bushes. I didn't grow up having these types of hedges. I don't have anything like this now, but there was a neighbor of mine that kept their yard really organized, really neat, and they had bushes, like hedges like this. And I remember we got in trouble because we were throwing football and someone landed in her hedges, okay? So it's a wall created by bushes. I'm not going to fill out this sentence so we have time to read the story, okay? So I'm going to switch over and I'm going to start. Under the blanket, Sophie waited. After a minute or so, she lifted the corner of the blanket and peeped out. For the second time that night, her blood froze to ice and she wanted to scream, but no sound came out. There at the window with the curtains pushed aside with the enormous, long, pale, wrinkly face of the giant person staring in. The flashing black eyes were fixed on Sophie's bed. The next moment, a huge hand with pale fingers, oh, where's the camera? Came snaking in through the window. This was followed by an arm as thick as a tree trunk. And the arm, the hand, the fingers were reaching out across the room towards Sophie's bed. I want you to think about that. We can really imagine this scene in our mind. This time, Sophie really did scream, but only for a second because very quickly the huge hand clamped down over the blanket and the scream was smothered by bedclothes. Ooh, the scream was covered up by her bedclothes, by her sheet. Sophie, crouching underneath the blanket, felt strong fingers grasping hold of her, and then she was lifted up from her bed, blanket and all, and whisked out the window. If you could think of anything more terrifying than that happening to you in the middle of the night, then let's hear about it. The awful thing was that Sophie knew exactly what was going on, although she couldn't see it happening. She knew that the monster, or a giant, with an enormous, long, pale, wrinkly face and dangerous eyes, had plucked her from her bed in the middle of the witching hour. Ooh, the witching hour. And now was carrying her out through the window, smothered in a blanket. What actually happened next was this. When the giant had got Sophie outside, he arranged the blanket so that he could grasp all four corners of it at once in one of his huge hands. Wow, the giant must be really big. Was Sophie imprisoned inside? She's in prison. She can't get out. She has no choice. In the other hand, he seized the suitcase and the long trumpet thing, and off he ran. Ooh, look at this illustration. Sophie, by squirming around inside the blanket, managed to push the top of her head out through a little gap just below the giant's head. She stared around her. She saw the village houses rushing by on both sides. The giant was sprinting down the high street. He was running so fast his black cloak was streaming out behind like wings of a bird. Each stride he took was as long as a tennis court. Out of the village he ran, and soon they were racing across the moonlit fields. The hedges, bushes like a fence or a wall, dividing the fields were no problem to the giant. He simply strode over them. A wide river appeared in his path. He crossed it in one flying stride. Sophie crouched in the blanket, peering out. She was being bumped against the giant's leg like a sack of potatoes. Over the fields and hedges and rivers they went, and after a while a frightening thought came into Sophie's head. The giant is running fast, she told herself, because he's hungry and he wants to get us home as quickly as possible, and then he'll have me for breakfast. My secret clue and answer for one of the questions on your quiz is going to be one of my nephews is named Jordan. And my old dog is named Lovey. Hopefully you listened all the way to here. We have read the 3 chapters now. I want you to think about, I want you to reread it. What has just happened? The Roald Dahl uses the lots of adjectives and imagery in his writing to help us imagine what's going on. Go back up and I want you to find, what does the giant look like? What happens to Sophie? How does Sophie feel in chapter 3? How do we know in the text? How do we know? Think about this. Remember, we always talked about internal conflict. How does Sophie feel right now? What makes you think that? Good luck. Great job, and keep it going. I cannot wait to do the talent show tomorrow. Keep it up. Bye, guys. I miss you.